Welcome to episode 109 of the Omni Gamers Club podcast, the podcast for games on all platforms, including waiting in line to try and get a Switch 2. I am Daniel Winter.
And I'm Mark Uasa, and we're really excited to be joined by a special guest tonight. We have variety streamer Amanda Panda. Welcome, Amanda.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. This is such an honor.
Yes, thanks for joining us. We had the pleasure of meeting up. Well, you and I have met multiple times, but three of us were able to meet up at Terminal City Tabletop Convention a couple of months ago here in Vancouver. But why don't you tell us, Amanda, where people might know you from?
I'm Amanda Panda, aka the Pan Angel. I spell it Panda, the number 8, Ngel. If you search that, you can find all my socials and stuff. But most people know me as a live Twitch streamer. And I'm currently doing Twitch and YouTube, but I do board games, I do some video games, some app-based games, some arts and crafts. That's why I call myself a variety streamer.
Omni-streamer.
Omni-streamer. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. So before we got on, you were asking about how, where on the spectrum I am as an omni-streamer.
So I always forget to ask our guests that.
Yeah. So I wanted to bring it up. Okay, so whenever someone asks about my likes and dislikes about the game, about board games, tabletop games specifically, I say I'm an omni gamer, except I don't do miniature war games and I don't do TCG CCGs. But it's funny because then Daniel brought up the fact that there's video games and there's role-playing games. So I do play one-shot role-playing games. It's very hard for me to do a complete game, with multiple campaign. Yeah, multiple game campaigns. The only one I did was with a new GM, and let's just say it was a little bit hard. It was a little bit rough. Plus, the theme of the game was not on par with what I like and stuff like that. So I like to do one-shots because I feel like it's fun and funny, and then you can
get to try new things.
Yeah, and you can pull, callbacks and Easter eggs from other one-shots together and kind of do that with your friends as well. I do some video games, but mostly it's all PC games. I don't have a game console. I did as a child. I had a Nintendo. I had the Olympics mat and, the duck hunt gun, and all that stuff. So I do play some video games. I had a Game Boy. My favorite game was Tetris and Paperboy. But as
real
an adult,
classics there.
Yeah, exactly,
no Switch 2
exactly.
Then.
Yeah, but as an adult, I'm more into gaming with other people. So I'm often, or at least gaming while chatting with other people as on Twitch. When I do solo games. So that is what I'm known for is basically gaming with other people.
Well, you and I had the pleasure of playing a game together on stream a couple of weeks ago. We played Dungeon Carts.
Yes, we did.
On
but
stream.
The first one, wasn't it a big chick theory game? Was that not with you?
We played something years ago. I can't remember.
Years ago. It was really good. It was a long stream, but it was really fun. Yeah. So I enjoy a lot of games. I'll always try a game once or twice before I say no more. I have played Rococo 5 times, and finally I've said no more Rococo.
Give it
it's
a fair
not a
shot.
game for me. Yes.
That's really cool. I feel like Daniel and I try and cover a lot of genres, but we probably stretch ourselves a little bit too far. Don't get around to the war games and the TCGs that often, but we like to ride that carousel.
Well, today we're going to be covering, we'll each be bringing in an appetizer, a little amuse-bouche to discuss, some topics that are interesting us at the moment. Then we'll be jumping to the main course. We've each brought a game today. And finally, some dessert. We'll be chatting out something else that we've been enjoying lately. So, Amanda, I'll let you start us off. And I think there's a little bit of a tangent here to, what games you do or don't play, perhaps. What topic have you got for us today?
Why my friends don't like to play co-ops, or at least a portion of my friends. I mean, I enjoy co-op. I like the feeling of, working together towards a common goal, fighting the baddies or the game, and triumphing. It's like that. It's why also I like reading those types of books, is that you go in and all these separate characters come together fight and then they feel like they're family, or they feel like, they're really good friends after the fight. A lot of times they fall in love, all that stuff. But it is that feeling of camaraderie, and that you've done something together and you have triumphed, and now you have a connection there together. And that's why I like co-ops, is that you're working together, you're not working against each other. But I have a lot of friends that will not play co-ops, or don't like co-ops, or only like semi co-op with a hidden trader. And I understand their point of view, though. Like, do y'all like co-ops? First of all, I like co-ops, but do you?
I certainly play co-op games. I always find myself will be playing one, and I suddenly realize, oh wait, this is a co-op, I guess. Like, I don't really actively seek it out as an experience, but there are plenty of co-op games that I enjoy playing. It's interesting, is that, I mean, trying to onboard new people, bring them into the hobby, I think co-ops can be a very accessible form of that, where they don't have that anxiety of performance and trying to do well because they're all part of the team. But at the same time, some people can suffer from the anxiety of letting that team down. So it can go both ways, I think, in terms of the interest there. And if some people are always going to prefer those competitive games and want to be able to win more than everyone else, I guess.
Yeah, I certainly play some co-op games, and mostly with my family, because that is a lot of the time I get to play tabletop games. So I recall that, what was it? The Crew. I think not the Crew, not the Crew, the Gang.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Which I think we played at TCTC a couple times as well.
Yes,
was a big hit. With my kids recently, they asked to play it again and again. And, it's a good learning thing. They get to learn the rules of poker, the poker hands, and things like that, which can lend to other games as well. So, yeah, I think for me, it's more like a necessity, because, if it's not competitive, then we don't have to fight so much. And I don't want any more fighting than necessary in the household.
I'm introducing my daughter to a bunch of games at the moment, and she always asks, "Is this a winning game? I don't want this to be a winning game." But yeah, I think, to me, one of the, at worst, co-ops can feel like you're only getting half of a puzzle. Like, it can feel like a bit of an escape room where you're all collectively solving one game, but then splitting that game into smaller chunks. Like, I think Pandemic can sometimes feel a little bit away. Like, I don't want to pick on Pandemic. It's a great game, but some people do. I think that's part of the reason people sort of bounce off of it. They feel like they're only contributing one small piece of the puzzle. Whereas other games, I mean, very conveniently right behind me here, Daybreak, very much feels like each person has their own game to play. You are solving your own puzzle, for lack of a better term, and then the cooperative elements are sort of layered on top of that. It's an additional layer. It's not. Not everything is the cooperative element.
Okay, so yeah, that I think that's how Starla from Our Family Plays Games would call it semi co-op, even though it's completely co-op, where you have your own objectives that you need to do in order to win the game. But I feel like it's funny because you say escape rooms, and that's one of the best escape rooms I like, is when I'm on one side, trying to figure out this puzzle. I have to yell across the room to someone else who has another piece, who then tells me their piece, which then I can fit into my puzzle, and we're working. And I like that. So that's interesting that you say that. But I think most of my friends don't like it because of what's called an alpha gamer. And what an alpha gamer is someone that's telling everyone else what to do, and not letting everyone kind of figure out the puzzle themselves, which I can understand for some people it can be kind of frustrating when you see an obvious path to victory and everyone else is not seeing that, or like trying to do something. And which is why probably Daybreak has your own objectives, because then someone can't tell you what to do, and because you don't know their objectives, right? And that's probably why Starla likes Decorum. Because you have your own objectives that no one else knows,
like hidden information.
But, hidden objectives that you have to work towards together, but at the same time no one can tell you what to do in order to beat the game, because they can see it and you can't, right?
Or Spirit Island, which just gives you so much information that no one person can hold it all in their head, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's true. The downside with those sort of like asymmetrical co-ops is that if one person is like new to the game, it's hard to like kind of coach that person because they are like sort of playing their own separate game. I wanted to talk about another co-op that I think is kind of stretching the rules a little bit, but is the one I play the most and I like the most, is tabletop RPGs. I think that's the classic co-op game because you're generally always playing as a party, working together towards some sort of goal. And furthermore, in the modern sensibility, the GM or the DM is the game master is part of your team as well, because their role is to make sure everyone has a fun time and is telling a compelling story and is moving the kind of the adventure forward. And I think back in the day, in the early days of D&D, it was probably a bit more competitive. It's like, let me pit my evil dungeon against you hapless souls, and good luck getting through it. But thankfully that sort of attitude is starting to change, and I think it's I play as a GM and I play as a player, and I really enjoy both aspects of it because it's not like I guess to counter your daughter, Daniel, it's not a losing game, right? It's not like the players against the game. Everyone works together to make it a fun game, and I think generally GMs and DMs like don't want the players to fail. I think they will allow players to have a total party kill if if everything just goes wrong, and that's kind of part of the risk and fun of it as well. Because if there wasn't any risk, is it really like as rewarding? So I think TTRPGs are, to me, my favorite kind of co-op.
I think that often comes down to more collaboration than cooperation. Because sometimes you're collaborating to the characters might be at friction with one another, while the players are still collaborating. If you know what I mean. So there's a slight distinction there, perhaps.
I never thought of it as a co-op, but now that you talk about it, I'm like, oh, that's very true. And I mean, your GM, like, if you had a total disaster where like some of your characters just cannot roll right, do you give them a boost so that they can get back into the game? Because like we had person lying in a ditch for 3 games straight. It was not the best.
Yeah, I think it really depends on the GM, the DM. Sometimes
Yeah.
they'll throw you a bone, sometimes they'll fudge the die rolls a little bit. But I think generally they want to give everyone like as many chances as possible to kind of stay in there and survive for sure. But yeah, to both of your points, Amanda, you mentioned sort of like adventuring, stories and TV and things like that. And, you can have that in a role playing game. Is like everyone can have the goal of beating the dragon together or stealing the loot together, but you could also be trying to find your long lost parents, or you can be developing a romance with a fellow player character, or something like that. So you can have your personal mission and their overall mission too. So that's a lot of fun.
And I think even on the board game side, my favorite cooperative games tend to have that element of story, or whether it's an emergent story or explicit narrative. I mean, you got mentions of Madness, Arkham Horror, LCG, some personal favorites there. Amanda, what are your favorite cooperative games?
I always tend to go towards like was it that desert one? Oh my gosh.
Forbidden Desert?
Yes, Forbidden Desert. I like, I like Pandemic. I have all the expansions, and some of the other versions. I think those are the two that always come to mind right away. But there's been so many great ones, like Chronicles of Crime. Daybreak was a lot of fun, but very brutal. Uh, like I'm currently playing Lord of the Rings Fate of the
Ooh.
Fellowship.
That's
Which
the
is
pandemic version?
that's the pandemic version of Lord of the Rings. That is so challenging. It is so challenging that the designer's like, well, maybe you need another few brains to help you out. And I'm like, thank you. Thanks, Matt Leacock. I know. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, having just critiqued Pandemic, like Forbidden Island was like number 5 or something on my top games list. I do love that version. There is absolutely a place for that type of puzzle.
Yes, absolutely.
Very cool.
Really
Okay,
cool.
moving along. I was going to talk about Summer Game Fest today, but I don't think there's much to really contribute to that topic. In considering just, I don't know, it felt very much the Emperor's clothes in terms of trying to prove that video games are still happening. Everything's okay, guys. Don't look at the burning fire over there. Lot of marketing and that. And I only caught some of the conferences. There was a couple of projects that sounded cool. What was it called? No More Words, I think. It was basically like a stop motion animation cooperative platformer game. That looked really cute. I don't know if either of you happened to catch any of that, any highlights.
No, I watched a bit of the Sony announcements, and of course, like you, I think you shared the news. I got excited about Final Fantasy Tactics, the original being remastered.
That's right.
Remade. Not that the original's unavailable or whatever. You can get it on Vita if you still have one of those kicking around. I just kind of I saw the Summer Games Fest talk happening on social media, but I kind of didn't understand because I thought it was all on Steam. I didn't know there was an actual show. And I'm just having a hard time getting my hype up for video games these days. I love video games, obviously. I guess my feeling can be summed up as I love video games and video game makers, but I don't like the video game industry. I don't like these publishers, these massive publishers. I don't like these big corporations like all of them. Sony, Nintendo, Microsoft, just killing off studios just to make a bottom line and make share number go up. So I want a future where creators can exist, but their publishers can just go ahead and disappear.
Definitely feels like it's celebrating the wrong part of the industry. At least the primary conference. There was some cool sort of more indie conferences like the Wholesome Games Fest and Day of the Devs, which showcase some smaller creators.
Yeah,
But I understand what you're saying. I was watching and lurking in Amanda McKnight's streams where she, basically watched the whole thing and commented about it. And I went to PAX West last year, which was like my first video game convention. And the indie part was the more interesting part. It was the more accessible part because you didn't have to line up an hour and a half to try the game, right? And so I agree with you that we need more indie and more variety, right, of video games and PC game builders that are hyped up, that are advertised, rather just the big companies. But the big companies have the money to do it, so you need a big company that will pull up, and help promote more of the indie companies in order to really do what you want, Mark, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I agree to a point. I think the big companies, it's going this is a bigger topic, but the whole video game industry is moving towards such high fidelity these days that games take 1,000 developers and 8 years before each iteration can come out, and maybe that's not a game I really care about. Maybe I'd rather play a game by 5 or a dozen really really experienced and skilled and artistically capable developers. But I don't need 4K skin pores and all that sort of stuff. I just want a good story and a fun game mechanic. I just want to keep it simple.
The industry has become fixated on chasing the dragon of fidelity above all else, unfortunately, and it's very unsustainable. And a couple of indie games did get mentioned in that primary conference, like Repo, which is a bit of a sort of co-op horror survival game. It only got mentioned insofar as it's the best-selling game on Steam. It's like this metrification of games only matter if they sell, if they make money. Like there are so many better ways of talking about these games and why they're important.
Very true.
But speaking of PAX, another quick topic I thought Amanda would discuss previously. So we had some thoughts on the state of conventions right now. I know you've travelled around a little bit. I mean, you came up here to Vancouver, obviously, for Terminal City. I mean, what other conventions have you been to lately?
So, this year I went to OrcaCon before going up there. I'm going to LFG-Con, which is a brand new con in Burbank, California. After that's Origins. Then I have GenCon, maybe World Series of Board Gaming. I will be at San Diego Comic Con, and I will be at PAX Unplugged. But Oh, and I might get. I'm like 80% going to Essen right now. I
Oh
have a
wow,
full year of
very jealous.
conventions, and I'm sure like I've like probably forgotten one or two.
Convention
Um,
season is about to start. It's like every other week now.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
I mean, UK
Um,
Games Gamescom was like last weekend, I
yeah,
think.
UKGE, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And you had a thing about UKGE, right? Some
Yeah,
kind of
well, part
news.
of what I wanted to bring this up was there was an article from Board Game Wire saying that UKGE has apparently surpassed GenCon for the as biggest floor space. So not necessarily numbers of attendees, but it is like approaching the scale of GenCon. And I've never attended GenCon or Origins or any of the big American cons. Like just partly just the numbers is incredibly intimidating. I did attend PAX Unplugged the last couple of years, had a lot of fun there. But that's basically the limit of how many people I can take. I was planning to go to PAX West this year, but have cancelled all of my US engagements for this year for reasons you could probably guess. But my current philosophy is I'd rather go to smaller conventions in more interesting places than going to the biggest conventions out there.
And I think because of the reason why you're not coming to US and is probably reason another reason why Gen Con's like exhibitor hall is like shrinking. A lot of exhibitors are canceling. By the way, I did forget one convention. I just for the first time went to BGG Spring, and that
Oh,
was a
right.
lot of fun.
Very cool.
So yeah, it's a smaller convention in Texas, in Dallas, Texas, for BoardGameGeek.com. They put it on too. Um, and so I went to BGG Spring, and then BGG Fall, unfortunately, is the same weekend as this PAX Unplugged, so I can't go to that one. But I feel like, like with the tariffs and everything, that and people not going into the US, that a lot of exhibitors are canceling their booths and stuff, which is really interesting. And I think that helped UKGE, right, get a lot of people going outside of US conventions. Now, Essen's the biggest one, right, for board games and tabletop games. But Gen Con was the second. And I think with everything that's going on in the US, it's going to be interesting to see what Gen Con does, because a lot of people will not come, a lot of designers will not be coming, a lot of companies will not be coming, and a lot of US companies are now looking to maybe go to they probably went to UKGE and not going to Gen Con, right? Because
These
they
other
can't.
markets are becoming so much more vital to survive for these publishers,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. So it's kind of crazy. Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, I historically haven't traveled a lot to conventions. It's mostly to do with the cost of it. I think it's quite prohibitive to go. Obviously, if you love it, got to do what you love. But just my priorities have just been with my sticking close to home with my family and that sort of thing. TCTC is really my con, and I love going to it. And Shucks before that, just because it's in my hometown, super easy for me. And I just like the playing of the games. I'm not really that big into the new latest hotness or new releases or even talks. Just playing the games is what I enjoy. OrcaCon definitely had its appeal to me, but like Daniel, I'm not really traveling into the US or internationally for game conventions in the near future. Maybe like Tokyo Game Market would be really cool to do one
Oh
time.
yeah.
I'm going to
Yes.
Japan fairly soon, but I have not like coordinated to match Tokyo Game Market, but definitely do that anytime because I like my weird little indie games.
Yeah, it was surprising to see how many people were at Tokyo Game Show this year. I think a lot of people were doing that in lieu of the American conventions.
It is
Yeah.
on my bucket list, but you should go to Singapore. Singapore has a
Okay.
game market type thing where they have it's Daryl Chow did a really good job.
Origame, yeah.
Yeah, he pulls in, Japanese publishers, but also Korean, and also like other Asians, like from around that area, and it's such a centralized area for Asia that I think you will find a good variety of different like niche games,
Yeah.
from really indie publishers. I think like the Japanese game market, I think that it's definitely one, the Tokyo game market I want to go to, but I feel like that would be like more just, you know, for those in Japan. I don't know how many other countries go to that market
Yeah,
specifically.
it's not really a big like trade convention, right? It's
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
not a trade convention. It's following the dojin tradition of Japan, which is indie makers. Indie makers sell their indie stuff. And so a lot of games have come out of it and gone retail. Little trick takers and this and that are always coming out of Japan have gone on to find publishers and things like that. And that's why I think like foreign publishers have gone to it to scout stuff, right? So
Yeah.
that's great, but it's not like set up for international crowds. Yeah, you're
Right.
right. It's definitely kind of Japan market oriented first.
Well, I did love
Yes.
seeing that indie, that scrappy sort of marketplace philosophy is starting to hit North America
Oh
now.
yeah.
We had Indie Game Night Market at PAX Unplugged last year. I've seen a
Mm-hmm.
couple popping up on the West Coast, I think.
There was at oh, I went to Dice Tower West. Totally forgot about that too. I told you I missed a couple. Yes, they had the indie game market at Pass and Plug. Then it went to Dice Tower West. They're gonna have it at the LFG Con in Burbank. I do believe World Series of Board Games might have it as well. And it's awesome. And for those of you who don't know, when it's an indie game like in the Tokyo game market, basically they're self-publishing, so they might have 100 copies or 200 copies and
Or
that's
20.
it. Yeah, or they handmade 20 copies and that's all they're gonna sell. But it's lovely to just see like and support those people and their dreams, and hopefully that means that we get more variety into the gaming market in general.
Yeah, totally agree. I think you can build a lot of buzz there at indie events, right? If people get to play it, especially the kind of hardcore people like foreign publishers. I think Daniel Newman, who's part of New Mill, was at Tokyo Game Market. I think this past year. I saw followed him on social media, and so if there are more foreign like indie developers coming into that market, help share the buzz, help kind of um, cross market these games and into the different markets. So it's all fantastic. Like I love that kind of point to point like pollination. We don't need a massive publisher from another country to pick up a tiny little game. Us little indies can help other indies out, sort of thing, across international borders. This is all a theme that's matching up between all of our conversations. I think it's cool. Indie
Absolutely.
spirit.
So just quickly, I wanted to say I will actually be attending one convention for the rest of this year. It's going to be PlayCon in Sydney, Australia, because I'm just going to happen to be out there visiting family in July. Just happen to collide with that. It's run by the podcast Board Game Barbecue, which some others may know, which I'm a fan of, and so hoping to meet some both my old Australian game group and some new friends out there next month.
That's so awesome.
Very
Yeah,
cool. Yeah. You're going to have to give us a
isn't
report.
there? Yeah, and isn't there a PAX that also is in
PAX
Australia?
Australia, it's in
Yeah,
Melbourne, and doesn't quite line up with my timing, unfortunately.
but that's so cool. That's so cool.
Okay, Mark, do you have a topic for
Yeah,
us?
my news is super short. But speaking about TTRPGs and Japanese games, I have been interested in this game called Sword World, which is sort of like Japan's version of D&D. They have D&D in Japan, but it's not nearly as popular as it is in the West. Number one TTRPG apparently in Japan is Call of Cthulhu. It's kind of
Oh.
surprising, but Japanese people love horror, and it's apparently a really adaptable system. You can do period stuff, you can do change the setting, all that sort of thing. So Sword World has always been interesting. There's videos of it online where documentaries in English where people have broken down kind of like where the split happened. And it's really fascinating stuff. It's sort of like a mirror universe D&D just for Japan. And the cool thing about it is they sell it in kind of like small books that are really cheap. Like you can buy a source book for like $10 Canadian instead of like $80 Canadian or something like that, which just one of the three required D&D books costs $80. So that's like $200+ for all three sets. And so I was like, man, it would be great. I'm going to totally pick those up in Japanese. Of course, they're not in English. And then I thought, wow, it would be great if there was an English translation of it. And it turns out there is. And it's free. Go check it out online. Sword World 2.5 rules are available publicly in English for free. Of course, it's digital. But if you just want to check it out and kind of see that mirror universe style of a Japanese tabletop fantasy RPG, you can go check it out. We'll share the link in the show notes.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
And speaking of which, in regards to your trip to Japan, if anyone has any recommendations of games that Mark should be checking out, or game stores perhaps, where he's taking recommendations.
You should definitely check out Cardboard East on
Oh,
YouTube.
cool.
Jay,
Yeah, Jay does amazing content on all of the Asian games. And he even like shows you how to, buy it from like US or Canada, and he just goes into, he pulls out these like really obscure games, and then you play it and you're like, now I want it, and it's so hard to find. So
it's only in Japanese.
Yeah, you need to go check out that YouTube channel for sure.
Yeah, that's really
bringing
cool.
us back to the heyday of like JRPGs and trying to get the English translation right.
Yeah, I know a couple of stores in Japan. I've gone a few times before, but there's just like a wealth of games that I've never even heard of, and they're from bigger publishers and then for tiny publishers, and it's just like kind of like a mystery world there, especially if you don't read the language. I read it a little bit. But and even like they have a lot of Western games, but the box art is totally different, so that adds to the confusion as well. But that Cardboard East sounds like a really good resource. I will check it out. And there's a couple of YouTube videos that I have saved as well. One from Asians Represent, the tabletop role-playing podcast. They shared some info about TTRPG books and board games available as well in Japan. Generally, the store you want to hit is called Yellow Submarine. There's ones in Tokyo, there's ones in Osaka, and then there's smaller shops as well that are more oriented towards the local Japanese market, but there's cool stuff there too.
I also find that you can sort of just go to like a bookstore or like a toy store, and you'll randomly find like an aisle of board games or like a shelf of card games. Even in Korea too, you go to like a bookstore and they'll have games randomly. So it's like a little bit of a hunt. So keep your eye out.
Agreed. Yeah, there's a Yodobashi Camera, which is the big like electronics retailer, one of the big ones in Tokyo. The massive Akihabara location, which has like 7 floors or whatever, has a surprisingly large board game aisle. So go check that out. It's on the toy floor. But if you're just scouting out there anyways, it's really easy to check out a bunch of board games altogether.
That's cool.
There you go.
So, well, I think that's enough for the appetizer today, to leave some space for our main course. Amanda, what game have you got for us today?
I was going to talk about SETI, but you both have not played SETI, and I feel like you need to play SETI. But
I do want to try that. Joe, Phantom Meeple, was telling us about that on our TCTC episode recently.
Yes. But I'm going to talk about Darwin's Journey, which is another really good one. Came out in 2023, but has done 2 Kickstarters so far for expansions. One has just been shipped to backers, and another one just ended. Designers are Simone Luciani and Nestor Mangoni. I am gonna say those wrong.
I think that's right.
And artist is Paolo Voto. The publisher is Thundergriff Games. I mean, this one is a hit physically and on Board Game Arena, which is a website you can play games on for free or minimal cost.
I think it's premium on Board Game Arena, to be clear.
Oh, well, I mean, it's only like $30 or $40 US for a whole year. Like, the whole year, you get access to every game. One person out of your game group needs, a premium account, and they can start all the games, which is absolutely amazing. But yeah, no, like, I taught this to friends. Friends taught it to me digitally, and then I taught it to friends digitally, and then I played it with my friend John, aka Book Nerds, aka Cribbage and More. with my physical copy, but that's my Kickstarter copy with the, cool
The rubber
seals,
seals.
yeah,
Yeah.
the rubber seals and all the bling. And he's like, "Oh gosh, I have the retail version. I don't know. I need
You
the
can't go
blinged out
back.
version." Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Once you go deluxe, you can't go back. But yeah, no, Darwin's Journey is a really cool worker placement game. You basically going on a map, sailing and discovering different species as Darwin did. But the cool thing is that you can upgrade your workers, and so they can get more powerful, or they can get they can now do multiple things instead of just one thing. And you have a lot of personal objectives and public objectives that you can go towards to get the most points. And there is at the end kind of a, I guess, what you would call it, collective, like if we collectively go find all the species, right, then we all get more points together. But yeah, I mean, the theme is in there, but it's not the main, like, it's not the main thing. But it is really pretty on the table if you play it, especially the deluxe version with all the deluxe components. Very tactilely fun to do, and it you can replay it over and over again.
I've played this a couple of times, both in person and on Board Game Arena, and I forced Mark to play this yesterday, so he'd have some opinions too.
In honor of your appearance on the podcast, we played it together just last night. Daniel sprung for the deluxe version, so we had all the nice looking, nice feeling pieces as well. I think, Daniel, you even did a custom job with these seals, right? Because you said, they were sticking together too much?
Oh, yeah, the rubber seals were sticking, so I put up some cornstarch on them, basically.
That's smart.
Don't eat the rubber seals.
That's
A smart move. It's true. But yeah, I really appreciated it, and it's fresh in my memory. I've only played it the one time, so my opinion is not as deep as your guys' is. But yeah, I thought it was quite attractive. It's colorful, but sort of in a muted way, kind of like
Sepia tone.
yeah, a little bit like, what is that Lacerda game? The one with that's mostly blue, but it has a bit of color. It's like an old European theme, like Portuguese or something like that.
Or something, maybe, I don't know. I can
Lisboa.
totally...
That must be it. Yeah,
I think so. Maybe, yeah.
right. So there's so much going on in that game, and it's a real kind of, it's like a point salad. It's like a mixed bag of multiple sort of, I was calling it plates you had to spin in the air. Like there's 5 different sort of mini games that you have to track. There's a lot going on. There's the boats, there's the workers, like you mentioned. I really appreciated kind of leveling up the workers. Didn't really fit the theme, like agreed, like you said, but it was fun to do. And the other worker placement was pretty, kind of basic, except like the gating of the requiring the type of seals was fun, and the mini game of like unlocking the special ability of the initial workers you got dealt at the beginning was also fun. So you have goals right away. And yeah, I thought that sort of grid of animal specimens that you were referring to was the coolest part. I thought that was really fun, especially how like early on it nets you more money, but later on it nets you more point multipliers. So really quite ingenious how those elements like elegantly dovetail together.
A bit of a race to that element. Like, the first person to deliver each animal gets a little boost there, and yeah, it really is a kitchen sink Euro, and you're spinning a lot of plates within that sink. It does feel like its constituent parts aren't particularly new. Like it's just remixing things in a slightly different way. It's not doing anything inherently new, but the combined package, the sort of hybrid animal, I guess, is very solid. I do really enjoy this one. It's got lots of those micro goals. It is one of those games where you'll start the game out and have 10 goals. I want to do this. You'll end the game and you've done 3 of them. So it is great for having that feeling of, oh, next game I'm going to focus on this. And like you generally want to leave a game feeling like you have that room for improvement and something new to try next time. So I really enjoyed that. The the workers, upgrading your workers is always fun, very modular in that sense. It is a little confusing in just every action, or most actions have like 3 different inputs and like 3 different outputs in terms of, oh, I need to have these seals, I need to have this worker, needs to be like, is there someone available on this spot? And then I get this bonus, which combos into this bonus, which combos into this bonus. Like, you can
Lots of
easily lose
combos.
track of all the ins and outs. So it is a lot to track in this game. And it does...
Yeah, we accidentally cheated a couple of times in the first few rounds, so our score probably wasn't accurate of a true game, but we figured it out in the end.
Yeah. I mean, this doubling back on the theme briefly, though, I mean, I think it is interesting that we've seen, like, half a dozen Darwin-themed games in the last year. And I think part of that might be that obviously that age of exploration theme is huge in the history of board games. This gets to play in that sandbox without the sort of baggage of colonialism. I mean, obviously, Darwin, in support of and supported by colonialism, indirectly at least, but it's not, you're not actually going out and like taking over countries in this game. So it is like fairly inoffensive in that regard, but it resembles a lot of those sort of beige trad Euros.
It also brings in animals, and I think animals were big, especially a couple of years ago, and they're currently big still. A lot of, games just, what Animified was it called? Yeah, changed all the humans into animals so that they didn't have to deal with race
Anthropomorphization.
Yeah, there you go, that's the word. Anthropomorphize, and
like Root.
Animals are cute. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, totally.
And they kind of allow you to have an excuse to, like, it's okay if animals battle, it's a little bit more digestible. So I feel like Darwin's Journey takes that into account. Darwin, the theme takes that into account as well, for sure.
And it's even some women and people of color in this game.
Yeah, it's kind of like Darwin is like a character in this game, but no one plays as Darwin, right? You're sort of like chasing him
in Darwin's footsteps, which I think is the name of another board game in the last.
In the footsteps of Darwin, yes.
Right, and I think I heard on a podcast them talking about a guy called Wallace who was like developing a theory of evolution like at the exact same time as Darwin. So it's ironic that his story never gets told, but Darwin's gets told in 6 different board games. So maybe you, as individual players, are playing in Wallace's footsteps, following behind Darwin. So it's kind of cool. You can weave your own part of the story that way.
I mean, thematically, this is a little bit of a muddle. If you sort of squint and look at the big picture, you're collecting specimens of animals or minerals and then delivering those to get a sort of reputation or money. But then the small elements of like, well, going up this track gets me more footsteps or gets me a tent. So it's a little bit ambiguous or arbitrary in the individual when you start zooming in. But I think big picture, the theme largely works.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, it's about like discovering and collecting, right? You don't really need much of an excuse. Those 2 activities are just generally fun. So discover, collect, unlock stuff. Number goes up. It's great.
You're going up tracks, you're filling up meters, you're getting combo bonuses, all those little micro doses of dopamine that feel great.
So, yeah.
Amanda, I'm curious, have you played the expansion? I think Firelands it's called?
Nope, not yet.
I have heard multiple reports that the game is better with that.
Oh.
I've not played it because I've always been teaching someone new to the game, and it's already pretty heavy. It was quite long-winded, but there's like half a dozen little micro expansions in the box there as well that I haven't tried yet.
Oh, I definitely will be looking out for that then.
And I guess there was the new expansion that was on Kickstarter recently. I don't remember what that included.
I don't know either. I backed it.
Excellent. Sight unseen. Bye.
Yes, exactly. Bye.
Yeah. Okay. Any final words on Darwin's Journey?
Yeah.
You will need to play it once to figure things out and see the combos and see how other people do things before you can really grasp and chew into the
flow
strategy
and how everything fits together.
Yeah, it's definitely a multiplayer game. One of the on a heavier level for sure.
And it is one that works better on Board Game Arena because I struggled with Barrage, which was also by Simone Luciani, a different co-designer. But I really struggled in person, funnily enough, like seeing how everything fit together. But playing on Board Game Arena, visualizing everything felt clearer. So there's just a lot of moving pieces in these sort of big Italian Euro games that it can be hard to see the big picture until you've played a couple of times.
All right, I'm going to need to re-up my premium BGA account and start up a new game for us to play.
Or what if I just started one and
Hey,
included you?
there you go. Fantastic idea. Love to play.
Okay.
Very cool. I'm going to talk about a game that I think you two have played recently, and I played last night as well, same at Daniel's place, is called Dungeon Kart, which is a game from 2024. Designer Michael Jurab and publisher Brotherwise Games. And this game is sort of part of the Boss Monster Expanded Universe, cinematic game universe, of which there was already Overlord was another sort of
Overboss. Yeah.
An extension.
Super Boss Monster just came out, I believe, in like the last month.
Cool. So yeah, the empire just continues. And ostensibly this is Mario Kart, the board game. That Nintendo hasn't officially put out yet. It's a competitive racing game, and I think it really fits the theme really well. So there's a lot going on here, and I'm going to talk about just a few basics, and then I'm going to ask you guys your opinion. So the movement is based on action points. Everyone gets an allocation of action points, which is like based on the gear that your cart is in. Everyone's cart is a little different from each other, so some are kind of better at retaining speed. Some of them are better at taking corners. Some of them are better at drifting, that sort of thing. So you roughly have to spend action points to pull off maneuvers like turning, drifting, and bouncing or
drifting, turning,
knocking,
bumping, or something. Yeah.
Something like that. Everything's on a hexagonal grid, and sort of like another racing game I can think of, Reiner Knizia's The Quest for El Dorado.
That one came to mind,
It's the map is made up of larger hexes that have smaller hexes on them, and you can create these really cool, almost infinitely variable courses to race on. So unlike Mario Kart, it's just one circuit around the course. So start to finish line, and the first person who cuts through wins. And I think like you play until everyone has an equal number of turns. Or the remaining players get to take a turn. They may also cross the finish line. They may not. Hint: I did not cross the finish line in time. Other stuff that's going on, you can have different racers. So the different racers have special abilities you can play with another currency called coins, very much in line with Mario Kart. And you also have these little magical spells, which are kind of like the Rainbow Cube tools that you gain in Mario Kart, the blue shell, banana peel, that sort of stuff. So I understand you guys played this on stream. Amanda, what's your take on Dungeon Kart?
Yeah, have you played this in person at all?
I have played it in person once.
Mm-hmm.
I think I definitely like it better than at a higher player count. I don't think I like it as much at 2. I do like the chaos of it. I feel like that is the highlight, right? That you do have some strategy in how you use your action points, how you use your spell cards, because those are very limited. But there is that chaos that people have fun with, right? Where they can throw people into walls or bump people into, different things and take them off course and stuff like that. I kind of like this better than some car racing games or bike racing games that are out there. But it still has that funness of the race plus the chaos, but with a little strategy on top. Now, I have not played Mario Kart, but I do enjoy watching it. And as a video game, it's much faster. So I do wonder if they would do like a app version of this game with like bling and noises and stuff. Otherwise, you would have to do your own analog noises as you like bump into people or collect coins and stuff like that.
Well, I did try out the Nintendo Music app yesterday for the first time. They've got most of their game soundtracks, including the Mario Kart. So I just blasted that basically.
Oh, that's
but it does bring to mind like one of my issues with a lot of racing games is how long the games take. It's really hard to maintain tension in a 1 to 2 hour racing game, especially if like most of these games are better with more players. The more players, the longer the game. So I've played like Heat and Downforce, and all of those tend to feel like they're going a little bit long, and it feels like everyone's so close that they can't really. It all feels very arbitrary if the game's sort of rubber banding you together, or if one person pulls ahead and you've got no chance of catching up, then what's the point of playing it out for another hour, right? So, is that really tough tension that racing games struggle with? And in this, I mean, Mario Kart inherently has those rubber bands where you've got the items, basically, which others haven't done, like Downforce and Heat. Heat really struggle with, I think, is like once you're behind, how can you interact with the rest of everyone else? But there's items like there are some that will let you target any number of people in front of you or drop things behind you. The items are pretty varied. Or like one, I think there was the teleporter that lets you just basically race ahead like the Bullet-O-Bill in Mario Kart. So there's quite a bit of variety in the items that shake things up a bit. It's added that sort of chaos simulator element, I think. And like we played at 3. I think that was a little bit low. I think 3 was fine. I think 4 or 5 is probably the sweet spot. Any more than that, and it's probably going to run too long because you really don't want to drag these out. You want to like get to the good stuff.
Yeah, I feel like this game is a sort of in a hard spot because like you alluded to, Amanda, like the video game is all about just quick kinetic chaos. You sit down, you're in and out, and everyone, even if you don't know how to play, you're just laughing because like you're shooting off shells and you're just having fun. And so it's generally for a family or a casual crowd. This game has a lot of mechanisms, a lot of kind of concepts. It's a bit fiddly, so it's actually like harder to teach, I think, than something like Quest for El Dorado. Other than the concept of deck building, it's really a lot cleaner. The mechanisms are cleaner. There's a lot less chance, and there's a lot fewer numbers. Ironically, for a Reiner Knizia game. I think that Reiner Knizia's Quest for El Dorado edges it out slightly in terms of ease of teach. And so I kind of wish that they went, like you said, like simpler with this game. I wish that they made it on the kind of like the complexity level of King of Tokyo. King of Tokyo is the ultimate like quick hit chaos engine for crowds of casuals, right? Like little kids love King of Tokyo because the simple concept of bashing each other and hitting each other, and you just quick resolutions with dice. And that game series has added complexity over time with expansions and things like that. Of course, you could do something like this, that with an overall framework like this. I wish they had a simple framework and then added optional complexity. So yeah, this is a hard game to kind of like thread that needle between ease and complexity.
I think the game you're looking for, Mark, is Thunder Road Vendetta, which has like it has that racing chaos simulator elements, but it's slightly more accessible. I think just roll dice, see what happens, and your car will probably blow up, and you'll limp over the finish line. But it's a little more easier to get into the moment, I think. But this game is still very good at its best. I think this was quite reminiscent of El Dorado in good ways, in that like navigating the track, you have various options, both in like you might be able to go down take the easy route down the middle, or like try and thread the needle through these little side routes, or take a shortcut, and you can be quite tricky, and you feel clever, and like, well, if I drift here and turn here and zoom down here and then bump there, like you can feel quite clever in how you navigate this track, and I think that is where it shines. But that in itself, like, is one more step up in complexity to some of the simpler racing games, obviously.
What do you think, Amanda? You played this game a number of times. So what's your feeling on the kind of, like, does it have legs, this game?
I think it does. I think it would be, like, for, like, I think you can get a casual gamer in that's maybe played a couple other games. I kind of, you said King of Tokyo. I don't like King of Tokyo just because it's so... dice driven, and kids will like crush you.
Oh, they're
completely
brutal.
Crush you.
Right?
And it's like so disheartening. But
I played the King of Tokyo tournament with a 12-year-old. It was murder. He killed like 4 people in that game.
they're brutal. But I think they would like this, right? Because they can, pull people on. They can, but it's definitely not for that age group. I think or that group of like players. For something like that, like Downforce, where you can just like mess with everybody else, or camel up, right? Camel cup, that kind of level of complexity. I think this one is good for like regular modern board gamers who wants a racing game in a nostalgic theme, right? With a little bit of teeth to it, right? Because there is that strategy to it, that feeling of you did something clever, right?
And plus, you've probably played Mario Kart, unless you're Amanda. But you've probably played Mario Kart and have that as a point of reference, so like, which I think helps a lot. Like, oh, this is just the star, or this is just the blue shell. That makes sense.
I think the execution is actually excellent. I think this is a highly thematic game. I think they pretty much like did it on point. My complaint notwithstanding, I think like the variety of carts, the variety of racers, the variety of magic spells is all really on point, and like
a lot of replayability.
You feel like you're playing a kind of kinetic cart game. So absolutely, it's really there. I just think it's a slight mismatch with the intended audience or a potential audience of casuals.
I do love an interface in a game like this. Like, you have the gear stick. Unfortunately, my copy was from the library. It was a little loose. Like, I don't think the components are bad. The components are just susceptible to mistreatment. And they were already showing some wear there. So unfortunately, the gear didn't quite work, because you're supposed to like sit it upright at an angle, which is really fun. But my copy was a little loose, unfortunately. But that is really fun, just pulling the gear and then setting. That was quite intuitive, I thought.
I think it's a little bit more intuitive than, say, Heat. I think, like, I think Heat's deck building, how you cool down your engine.
Yeah, I really struggled with that.
Yeah, it was because I was like, wait, I want to cool down my engine, so I want to take cards out, but no, you want to add Heat cards in. It was really weird.
Yeah. I don't get on with Heat. It just takes too long, and like I said, everyone's rubber banded together until they're not, and then it's just all over.
Well, you want to be, right? Because you can slipstream.
Yeah, the slipstream.
So,
yeah. But then everyone's traveling in one huddle for like an hour and a half, and it's like, well, why don't we just roll a dice to see who wins? It's like,
and people can bottleneck other people.
Yeah, I mean, people will play rally games, like will watch rally drives or play rally games for hours at a time. So obviously there is tension to be found in those long-winded races. I just don't see it.
All right, folks, what do you think? Should we cover your game, Daniel, or in the interest of time, what do you think? Should we head to the dessert?
I've got a very quick one. I've only got like 5 minutes to talk about this quickly, and it does have a little tie-in here, and I wanted to have like a little aperitif for the Simone Luciani discussion earlier. And that this is, I mean, Amanda, have you played the game My Shelfie?
I have played My Shelfie. I have not played the dice game.
Okay, so My Shelfie by Phil Walker Harding, praise be.
Yes.
I have not played it. It has that Connect 4 sort of plastic frame you're dropping tiles into. I've not played it. But at my local game store, I spotted My Shelfie, the dice game. And it looked cute. I was with my daughter. She saw a kitty on the front. She was immediately taken. And I saw the name Simone Luciani on it. It's like, what? I love him from Darwin's Journey, Barrage, favorite game of mine. Like, what's his take on a small roll on write? So I had to know, picked it up sight unseen, and I think this is surprisingly good. So basically, you've got these dry erase boards, a 5x5 grid. Each row is basically a type of thing you might find on a shelf, whether it's board games or books or trophies. You roll 6 dice and you're trying to form sets to circle a combination on the grid, and you want like 3 in a row or 3 in a column, basically, to score points. Fairly simple. And it's very like, this has that Yahtzee sort of elegance of you roll dice, you get a benefit, you tick something off, that classic roll on write thing. It is surprisingly interactive and mean for a roll on write, which is probably where that Simone Luciani touch comes in that if you fill up a row or a column, every other player has to cross off that entire row or column, and they can't score that one anymore unless they've already scored it. That's gone for them. As my daughter learnt the hard way, unfortunately, I blocked the kitties off yesterday. She was not happy with that. But especially the 2 players, it is surprisingly amount of room for like interaction and blocking people. And like, roll and writes as a genre, pretty multiplayer solitaire, right? So this has just enough layer of just enough interaction, I think, to keep things interesting. It's not like anything revolutionary. It is a fairly simple luck-driven roll and write at the end of the day. but it's a lovely production, I thought, and it's got just a little bit of teeth in there. Mark, you played this yesterday. What did you think?
I played it one time, so my opinion, take it for what it's worth. I think it's fine. Like roll and writes actually don't really do much for me. This one is kind of the same as lots of roll and writes, feeling wise. I'm sure there's some interesting innovations there, subtle ones. All roll and writes are just slight variations of each other. Yeah, I think there are some choices there, like you can you choose up to 3 sort of symbols to fill in every time you roll. So you can actually kind of be clever in the choices that you make, kind of hedge some bets and cut people off deviously if you want to. You can also play it really light and mild and play friendly for everyone. I just don't know if it's worth multiple plays for me.
It's fair.
Yeah.
We discussed this a little bit yesterday, and like, if I had played every single roll and write out there, like Suzanne Sheldon, maybe maybe this wouldn't have anything new. This would just be too repetitive or too similar, and perhaps there is another game that does the same thing better. I'm not sure, but it's a struggle when you're playing these games. Like, if it's your first if it's your first experience with a particular type of mechanic or genre, it's just going to hit harder. Maybe there's another game that does it better, but this is my first, and it hit the right spot at the right time. So, in that sense, I think this is solid.
Nice.
Very nice. All right, I think we should move into the dessert section, which, Amanda, if you aren't aware, is sort of our off-topic kind of section. And I know that you have a topic in mind. I'm gonna do mine quickly, and then I think we should finish off with you. So I'll start us off. Mine is a novel called "What You Are Looking For Is in the Library." And I'm going to be really annoying again.
Is it board games?
You can, yeah. There's board games.
Dungeon Kart available in your library.
In the North Van Library, not the Vancouver Library for some reason. Anyway, this is. I'm going to annoy people by talking about Japan again. This is a Japanese novel. Author is Michiko Aoyama, and it's been translated into English. That's why I read it, and it's really short, 300 pages. It's essentially 5 short stories that all interrelate with each other. So, like, couldn't be easier to read, like just a fun read on a relaxing afternoon, weekend read. Really, really light, and the story is generally quite uplifting. The premise is that all the protagonists of each short story like vary quite a bit in age, gender, place in life. They generally start like younger in their 20s, and then they finish older in their like 60s in the retirement age. And all of them are sort of going through a struggle in life. And as you might imagine, some sequence of events brings them to the local community center, which has a tiny little library hidden away behind it. And this is where the magical realism comes in. So this is a very, very like mundane modern day story, but there is a little bit of magic in it. There are 2 characters in the library, kind of like a librarian and an assistant. And they exist in every short story. And the librarian has this sort of magical kind of like, do you know the Magic School Bus? The TV show?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's her name? Mrs. What is her? Mrs. The teacher from Magic School Bus.
The red hair.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I forget her name.
Yeah.
But she's kind of like, she's magic, right? Like literally she can shrink the bus and go into your bloodstream and
Mary Poppins,
whatever like that. The librarian in this story is not exactly that way, but somehow she has an ability to find a book that will resolve your problem. So they go in with a problem like, I want to learn how to cook or something like that. And they give you books on cooking, but they also give you this children's book. And the children's book teaches you about a sort of philosophy, and that kind of changes your outlook on life. And it kind of brings the character's challenge into focus. And all of the stories are like this. And it culminates in, there's like crossovers. Like some of the side characters from one story will appear in the background in another story. So it's just delightful tale. Like it's so pleasant. And I'm making this sound really light and sweet, which it is. But it's not without a little bit of sadness. Like there are characters who are dealing with unfairness in their life, in whatever workplace or their age or their gender is. They find challenging situations, but they come to a sort of a resolution, and the librarian helps them out, and books help them. And all of the books that get recommended are real books. They're real
Oh,
books that you can go seek out later on. So
that's awesome.
this is a fantastic, like really heartwarming book. I really needed it, or I felt like I really needed it. I didn't know I needed it, but it did something for me a powerful way. So what you're looking for is In the Library, a novel by Michiko Aoyama, highly recommended.
Including this book, probably available at your library.
So that's where I
Well,
got it.
hopefully,
Get
if
real
it's
meta.
not, you need to go and ask them to bring it in.
Yeah,
Because
the
that's how
librarian-
you get the best books, is when you request it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the librarian can go and buy it. Because they can't just buy any books. If you request it enough, then they'll go buy it. But yeah, no, that's awesome. I think right now, especially in this time of life, or like in history, we have really been gravitating towards cozy novels, right? With a happy ending, and there's
Romantasy.
a couple. Well, yeah, but I mean, it not even doesn't even have to have romance in it, right? But like, I think it was T is in treason or something, and there was one about
yes, yeah.
the
Legends and Lattes.
Legends and Lattes. That's it.
Yeah.
Yes, Legends and Lattes. Oh my gosh, those two are great little cozy reads, and I feel like it feels in this like genre of cozy reads, right? Where you kind of like get to know people, and it's light, and it has like the happiness, but there's still struggles. There's still a little bit of fighting, but it's one of those where you don't feel weighted down after you're done. So I think you need to check out Legends and Lattes.
Awesome. I'm going to one-up you
Yeah.
there. I'm going to another side recommendation, if you want a cozy read with kind of deeper meaning inside, is the Monk and Robot series by Becky Chambers.
Oh, that's on my list.
The first one is A Psalm for the Wild Built.
A song for the wild.
Yeah, the Psalm, like Psalm. Becky Chambers. It's sci-fi, but it's really uplifting. It's so kind of like a little solar punk-y.
Okay.
And the main character is like gender non-binary, and they are sort of like in a search for self-discovery, and they discover a robot that helps them on their journey. It's also really short, sweet, lovely, uplifting. Highly recommended.
It's literally on my TBR pile right now.
I'm gonna put it on my request from the library if they don't have it in the digital. I have like, oh my gosh, how many library cards y'all have? Because I have 3 I use regularly, and I need to get like 2 more that I know I
have
can
2.
get, so I can get the digital, access to them. But in the US, we can do that.
I only have the 1. I even tried to get some US based library cards, because some of them apparently you can get without an address, but I think they've kind of tightened that down a little bit. So even the local ones are like, no, you don't live within our boundaries. So
I mean, I'm all about physical media, so our main library here in Vancouver is very good. So, and it looks like the Coliseum, so I always love the excuse to go there and check that out.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun.
I think you can get San Diego for sure, because they're always at San Diego Comic-Con, and they allow an international. I think there's a New York library that you just pay like $1 or $2, and then you have access to their digital archives, which is awesome in this day and age, right?
Libraries are one of the, this is my firm belief, is they're one of the universal, like, things that are just undeniably good.
Yes.
There's very few things that are undeniably good, and libraries are it. Like, I'm sure, Mr. Burns from The Simpsons or whatever doesn't like the library, but the public library.
Well, plenty of people trying to defund them right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, from my cold dead hands. It's like, let's get good stuff to people who need it.
Yes, absolutely. And in LA, where I'm at, Los Angeles, California, our libraries also have 3D printers. They have sewing machines. They have like, you can rent a drill, you can rent, hammers.
Music instruments.
Yeah, you can
Yep.
rent, instruments,
We have
and
podcasting studios at Vancouver Public
oh,
Library
that's
System.
really cool. Yeah. Definitely, something to educate and help uplift the masses,
That's
and
right.
give everyone a sense of agency, which is why people are trying to defund because they want stupid people so that they can just control them. But moving on. Speaking of another cozy read, the Murderbot Diaries is a series of books following the main protagonist is a murder bot, and you go through his thought process, and he kind of has that ADHD, a little bit of like
Autism.
autism. Yes, he has a bit of autism. He is a little bit, doesn't know how to interact with humans, and just I feel like a lot of people are feeling seen, and they're like, oh, there's a character that's like me in this, in this world where you're a little bit awkward. You don't understand how people want you to react, like something about yourself that you don't think anyone should see, but he goes through the world doing good things, and kind of pushes against what his programming or what other people think he should be, and it's so like lovely. It's like it always has kind of like a happy ending, but it makes you think. It really does. It's cozy, it's lovely, but it does make you think about the world and how you see the world and how other people see the world and how your vision differs, and how you might want to change and how you might want to like see things a little bit differently. I love the whole series of books. They have some in worlds that are like spin-offs in a way and has nothing to do with the Murderbot. Also, there's a TV series I think that is currently,
Just a
coming
couple
out,
weeks
which I
ago.
haven't watched yet. Yeah. But I listened to the audiobooks, and the audiobooks are quite good. Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's like that whole
also
like
I also listened to the audiobook. Is it Neil Patrick Harris that read one of them? I feel like it's
really?
someone known who read
Okay.
the one I listened to anyway. I could be wrong. But yeah, I half read it. So it's embarrassing because it's like a 3-hour audiobook or something like that, the first one. They are short, right? Like they're
They are.
generally short.
They're relatively short, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was really an interesting story because you usually don't have like a non-human protagonist when mostly it's a human world. So it was cool as like the quintessential outsider, right? The murder bot. I was a little bit disappointed when the trailers came out for the TV show that he has like such a pretty boy face now. Like I thought he was supposed to be like a melty face, like bag of kind of like organs.
No,
Um,
no, no. He has like a human face, which is why people treat him very human-like, but he does not feel human,
hmm.
because he's been programmed. He just has it like a human body. But yeah, he's supposed to be very awkward, and I feel like the actor in the trailers is just portraying no feelings in a way.
Alexander Skarsgård.
Yeah, I mean he's a good actor, but it's very hard to translate these things on screen. I
Yeah.
don't know if they're just gonna have him talk what's in his head,
I've heard
like a
very
voiceover.
mixed reactions, and I think largely because so much of the book was monologue, and it's hard
Yeah.
to portray that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, they these adaptations, they always like mess with something. I'm not saying all adaptations are bad, but you have some like bizarre cases like the what is it? The sorry, there's the
Electric Sheep.
Electric State.
Do androids? Oh, Electric State.
Electric
Yes, yeah.
State, which is totally different the movie that the Russo brothers put out from the source material that it originally was. But I haven't seen Murderbot, the TV show, so I can't put a opinion out there. Maybe it's fantastic, and maybe it's one of those adaptations where like they're doing a different thing, but it's also cool.
But I've seen people react to the show and say, "I didn't realize the book was supposed to be funny. Why is the show funny?"
No, the book is hilarious, I thought. I think the book has a lot of comedy in it. And I think that it's like dry humor in a way. Or self-deprecating humor a lot of times. but I found the book to be quite funny. I don't know if it would be it's like laugh out loud funny in a way, but it's humorous for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
It's like
but
a fish out of water story, right? Like
yeah,
it's just he's a quirky main character and gets into like kind of serious situations, but approaches them in such a unique perspective because it's kind of like a non-typical human perspective.
yeah,
It's pretty funny stuff.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just have a quick shout out here. Is that last year I watched and loved the anime Delicious in Dungeon. That was my re-entry into the world of anime. I've been enjoying a lot of others since then, but I've been working through the manga for that series, mostly borrowing from my library. And I recently finished that off. And I don't want to go into too much detail for spoiler reasons, just to say that I think the ending is very good. It's fairly uplifting, I will say, and affirming. I do think the back half of the series as a whole, like beyond where the anime is, does get a little unwieldy in terms of just so many side characters being brought in, unclear motives. I'm not sure who I'm supposed to be following, who I'm supposed to be rooting for. I'm not sure. Maybe I just don't have the mind for reading manga. Maybe I just don't know the language yet. Whether anime has more space to sort of spell things out a little better, perhaps. But I think in the end, it is. I did really enjoy it as a whole. It does get very didactic, obviously, of like, oh, every chapter has to end with all the importance of nutrients in food. This is why you eat and cook properly, right? And it reminded me a little bit of one of my favorite films, Tempopo, the Japanese film. It was about the way that food brings people together and our relationship to food. And like, even if it is very didactic, it is very true, and like the importance of food and how it builds society and community and our relationship to that. So yeah, I did enjoy Delicious in Dungeon. I'm about to go pick up there was a book called the like Daydream Hour, I think, that the artist did, to like just little doodles and sketches of miscellaneous like the characters doing miscellaneous things, because that world is just so fun to be in. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I definitely want to watch the anime. I can't do manga too much, although my brain has changed. As a child, I couldn't do comics or manga because it is a different language. Like my brain, as a child, I would read a book and the words would disappear and I would just visualize things. So having to like read words and stop and look at the pictures to understand what's going on for the description was like stop and go. Like it was very jarring for me. I'm a little better now. That's also why I can't do subtitles, because all I do is look at the words and I don't look
Okay.
at like the picture of the movie. But yeah, it's funny because like comics have a different language of how they portray, and how they set up different. If it's like, I think if the squares are like overlapping, they connect or something, and they have totally different thing.
The
Well,
flow is very
it's
different. It's
different,
required a
yeah, and
mindset to process.
yeah, and manga has their own different process on how you're supposed to connect things, and I think that's really cool. I've started to try to, read a few mangas, but yeah, no, I definitely want to watch the anime for sure.
It's very good.
I've
Yeah.
watched all the way through what's available on Netflix of the anime Delicious in Dungeon. I've read the first volume of Delicious in Dungeon, or Dungeon Meshi in Japanese, and I read it before it was cool, before the anime had come out, and I thought it was super dull, and I quit because I thought it was inane and boring.
It is very gimmicky at the get-go, like that, following the gimmick of everything's going to end out with a meal or tying into food. And I think it takes a little while to get good, that classic trope of seeing the world building and the characterization that starts to emerge. And I think it does eventually lean into that more.
Yeah, it's funny how you're right, Amanda. Like the medium does a worse or better job at conveying the story. I believe some stories are better told in manga form, and some are better told in animated form, and some are equally great at both. I thought the animated series is fantastic. Like the characters are really compelling. It's beautiful to look at. The musical is fantastic. Color design, just like it's just whimsical, fantastic production. And I thought the manga was super dry and dull,
Mm.
and a little bit like I like cooking manga, which is about like cooking real food, but because they're cooking fantasy animals, I felt like no connection and kind of like a negative connection to it. It's like I don't know, I don't care how to prepare like mandrake roots, whatever. It's like that has zero interest to me.
There are generally some analogues, like it's supposed to be this other vegetable or this other type
Yeah.
of meat that they're cooking, but yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense, though. That makes sense. So you think that they did do well in translation of the manga to the anime? Because, like
Yeah.
we were saying, that the Murderbot Diaries, we're not sure if the translation will be good.
It's
But
very
Daniel,
close.
yeah.
Like there's very little difference that
Okay, good.
I've picked up on.
It's
very
it's about what they focus on, right? Like they will spend more
Yeah.
time with the kind of the emotions and the tone setting and how characters relate to each other. Like the pacing, you can't pace a manga really because you like self-pace, right? Like because you read
Right.
it yourself. Everyone focuses to a different degree on different elements in a story, but they do it really masterfully in the animated series.
there's a lot of nuance that I'm sure is in the manga, but is easy to miss. But that is much more explicit in the anime, so it's a little more accessible in that sense.
For sure.
Awesome.
All right, we covered lots of fun stuff, lots of philosophical stuff about game industries, both analog and digital. We talked about some cool media, both in print and on the big screen. We covered so much ground, and I really want to thank you, Amanda, for helping create such a fantastic conversation.
It's always great to hang out with you both. Like, I had such a great time at TCTC. Daniel, you need to work less. I'm just gonna tell you, you and Quaid needs to not put that, con on your shoulders and have more volunteers so you can work less and play more. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I hope that, in the future we can get more time together in person.
Yes, so let's find like a neutral ground somewhere where we can all go to a convention together.
Like Sweden with Switzerland? Is it like
Or
now
go to
we all
Essen.
need to leave
Tokyo
there.
Game Market, we'll meet each other
Yeah.
there. I'll
There
be a
is,
boss.
isn't that park that's right between Vancouver
Oh,
and
Peace Arch.
yeah, the Peace Arch
yeah.
Park. We could all just meet there.
That's a
We
great
should have
idea.
a con there. That'd be interesting.
Spread some blankets on the grassy field under the arch.
Exactly.
So
Very
nice.
cool. So Amanda, tell us where we can find you online.
You can find me under Panda Angel everywhere. That's PANDA, the number 8, NGEL. You can also find me on Board Game Geeks YouTube. I do some of their game night recordings. I am also part of Our Family Plays Games. So I've been part of their voices team, and now I'm part of their preview team. So you can find me on their shows as well. I am a part of the Rose Gauntlet Foundation, so I'll be at multiple cons.
Intentional.
There you
but-
go, Rose Gauntlet Entertainment shirt, yes. And I am part of the Tabletop Live Network and Tabletop After Dark Network on Twitch. We do monthly marathons, and mostly on my stream and my YouTube. So please go subscribe, follow, hit the notification bell, and I hope to chat with you at some point in the chat or in the comments.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We'll be sure to share links of all those places. That's many places where people can
Sorry.
follow you. We'll be happy to share them out.
Lots of options there.
Exactly.
So cool. Well, I would encourage you did such a great job doing the outro there. I would encourage our followers and listeners to please like and subscribe as well. Leave comments. It always energizes us to receive that feedback. We don't have a Patreon or sponsors or anything like that, so we're just doing this for the love of it. So love to hear your thoughts when you have them.
And if you have those thoughts or any questions for us, you can contact us at omnigamersclub@gmail.com or at our website, omnigamers.club. You can find us over at Bluesky. Is the Omnigamers Club account there. You can find me at Board Game Feast.
And I'm at Bluesky as OmniGamer Mark. Well, I want to thank you again, Amanda. It was so great talking to you. And please, I'd love to have you back anytime you like.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This has been so much fun, and it's been an honor.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks. Well, everyone out there listening, until next time, I hope you have a balanced diet of gaming.
Bye.
Bye.